Okay, Buzz. Well, we have gotten started sort of in a weird way with your watch, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about where we are at the moment. So, I got your watch in. I began with looking at your movement. So, I was concerned about condition and all of those things, as you can imagine. When it came in here, it was in pretty rough shape, and so the thing about water with any sort of movement is that it's pervasive. And pervasive to me implies that components that you don't necessarily expect to go bad will sometimes be bad. And unfortunately, watch repair is engineering, not physics. And so there's no prescribed equation that says, or theory that says this is going to work this particular way and this is going to be the way that it's going to come out. It's more of chasing your tail when you're trying to remove things like rust. And so I went ahead and took your dial and your hands and everything off, and those are in the process of being restored at the moment, so they're off to the side here. But what I have is I have your sort of naked movement. And from first glance, it may not look so bad. It looks pretty shiny. There's, pieces and parts. But the problem is that here in the center part of your stack, this is totally locked in by rust. And unfortunately, I think that goes down into the depths of the underside of this side of the movement. And so we are still going to go with a replacement. This will, of course, come back to you as a bit of history with the watch. But what you're going to get is an exact duplicate, factory correct 6309 movement that I have cleaned and can guarantee is going to be in perfect working order. The issue here with an older movement that's seen water is that the time that it will take me to ensure that all of the pieces and parts and whatever are exactly as they should be will be more than the cost of just going to this movement. With its new jewel, with its new mainspring, with all of the things that we discussed, it's going to be a much better movement just out of the gate. And so we're going to be able to get to the point of getting the watch done much quicker and with more fidelity to the original running of the watch, and perhaps even in terms of quality, it's going to be much better because of these new jewels that we've put in. So that's where we are. I've started through the process. I sort of jumped the gun a little bit on recording, and unfortunately I had recording going and my camera died in the middle of things, and actually I didn't get past a few moments of getting your watch torn down. But right now all of your parts and pieces are in the restoration process, and so we're gonna hold off looking at that for a little bit, just so there's a nice way to see it here towards the end, so you'll be surprised. But right now, we're going to go and start with the reassembly of your replacement movement and get that back into full running state, and then we'll continue. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with, I've gotten your center wheel and its center wheel cock in place. So the next step is the mainspring, and so this has a brand new this barrel has a brand new mainspring in it, and that's ready to go. So let's go ahead and get that taken care of. Sorry for all the noise. These finger cots are sticky. Now I've pre-lubricated everything, so we're ready to go with just getting on with assembly. What's nice about that jewel that's in there is that it just extends the life of this watch forever. It's really nice. I mean, with sort of frequent service, this will run as it should for a very, very, very long time. Okay, let's grab your third wheel. Have a look. Make sure everything is as it should be. All right. And your escape wheel. Now, this is your bridge, and your bridge has a new jewel as well. So it has a brand new upper mainspring arbor port jewel that lives in the, oops, come on. Come on, click. Oh my goodness, what is this thing doing to me? Get out of there. All right, that's good. Somehow this click has a mind of its own. Oh my gosh. Boy, it really wants to fly away. Maybe I'll grant it that wish. Okay, here we go. Back in place. Now, good. So let's go ahead and put everything in place as it should be. There we go. All right. Okay, now get all the pivots aligned. Okay, and there we have it. Very good. Takes a little bit of patience, but you never want to push too hard, and you never want to put a screw in until you see that train of wheels running very smoothly. And then I always check. I always do the secondary checking of things just to be sure. You gotta be certain. So you snap a pivot or crack a jewel or destroy a bushing. You don't want that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Good. So now we put your ratchet wheel in place. That's nice to see. Some liveliness in the movement. Cool. Okay. Good. So now we can put in your pre-lubricated pallet fork. Let's take a quick look, make sure there's no dust on there. Now, what I like to do is put a little bit of power into the mainspring, just a tiny twist. And that way I can see if the pallet fork gets in contact with the escape wheel in the right way and gives an indication that it's freely moving in its jewel. Yep. And so now we've got one screw just touching, and we put the other screw in. Okay. So now we can add power to your mainspring. Good. Okay, now here comes your balance wheel with your hairspring and all the assembly that goes into the tick-tock part. And there we go. Now we're running. Drop in your balance and watch it run. Okay. All right, so there we go. Now we're going to watch the numbers and let's see how we did with everything going together. Right. So let's look at where we are. I'm not quite sure how this is going to turn here, so I'll get as close as I can and then bring this thing into view. Alright, so looks to me like we're doing pretty well so far. Alright, that's pretty good. That's a good start. Heading to 220 right away. Alright, I think at this point we're going to let this break in a little bit. We'll come back and adjust the numbers just a touch. They fluctuate around a little bit as we go. But at this point, I think we're ready to let this break in for a couple hours and we'll come back. All right. Okay, Buzz. Well, we're going to continue with the process here. Your movement has run in really well, so now it's time to go ahead and build out your components on the calendar side. Okay. Right, so let's start with keyless works. mounting pinion. And your newly rebuilt crown and stem. So that's really nice to have. This has a new gasket. It's been cleaned inside and out. So you're in good shape there. Hopefully that will mitigate all future water issues associated with the movement. I think you had moisture and condensation that just built up over the years. Led to... Sorry for if you hear the yelling in the background. I have somebody who's playing video games in the background here while we're working. But that's okay. Okay, let's put a dab of grease here. Put your setting lever in place. Be generous with the lubrication, but not overly. I want to make sure everything is properly lubricated. Sure that you're all right. Now your yoke spring combination. Go. Excellent. All right. Okay, so let's keep rolling here. Right. Now we need your minute wheel. Now your date corrector plate. Okay, so now we can check the function of your keyless works. That seems to do the right thing. And there we go. All right. So, good. Now we can build out calendar parts. Okay. Good, good, good. Next parts are your corrector for your day. Gets a bit of lubrication on the end. Your date wheel, okay, which goes on here. Oops. Goodness me. Come on. Let's do it the other way. Right. There we go. There we go. Okay, now your plate for the other side. Oops, upside down here. Right, and the screw. Right, now, good. Perfect. Right, now, let's get your day wheel installed. Okay. And your C-clip. Perfect. Okay. So that is the movement built. We are done with that part of the process. Now it's time for dial and hands to go back on. Hopefully that'll be a fun surprise. Okay, Buzz. Well, here we are. It's a bit of a reveal. So let's talk about your dial and your hands for a bit. You had a lot of rust right here on this center pivot, and a lot of rust actually on the top of your second hand. I was able to get that cleaned off, and more importantly, when I took your second hand off, the end of the shaft, the actual pin that sticks up, it's called a pivot, that this second hand mounts to, snapped off. It was just rusted. So what I had to do is I actually had to drive out that little tiny pinion, that pivot, through the other side of the second hand in order to get it out. Now, luckily I was able to do that. I'm trying to preserve as much as possible the shine of these hands. Usually they're these beautiful, flat, shiny hands. You had a lot of corrosion, a lot of issues with especially the minute hand and the second hand. The second hand was really bad. However, I think we did a pretty good job of getting them at least to reflect the light, a bit. The dial itself has a couple little permanent issues. That there's a little ghost over here, there's a little bit up here, a little bit down here. Those are things I can't really get off. These matte finish dials, they just, once there's damage, it's pretty hard to get them back. But we're doing pretty well. I re-loomed everything, of course. That I tried to match the loom as well as I could to the shine and the coloration of your loom pots here on the dial, and I think it actually came out pretty nice. It's a marked improvement from where it was. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and case the movement so we can align your chapter ring, which also had some minor damage, but nothing too bad. So the way I like to do this is first go ahead and get the movement itself into the case. Get the crown and stem in place. There we go. Okay, and then we flip over. Alright, now we can go ahead and put some pieces back together here. So this is your movement retaining ring. And then you get your case back. Now we'll have to go back in here and finish out your winding components, but at this point we can go ahead and put your case back. Gasket, a new one, nice and round and cross, or circular I should say, in cross section. Alright, let's go ahead and just put your case back on. And that holds everything in place. So now we've got the movement in its proper place. We've got everything held. And now we align this little notch with the notch on your chapter ring. Just do one last little cleanup here. This is actually in pretty good shape. And there we go. All right, next is your retaining plate. Make sure that's nice and clean. So this is the plate that sits on top of your chapter ring and below your crystal gasket. Goes there. And now for your lovely crystal gasket. Oops. Dust. Make sure that's in place. We don't put any lubrication or silicone on this one. And now for your new crystal. Hardlex original glass material, ground properly to the right dimensions with the right finishing, frosted edges and all of that goodness. Just an absolutely flawless, beautiful crystal. All right, let's get that a little bit of a dusting. This should press completely flat into place, straight down. There we go, pops right in. The gasket should be all the way to the edges. There we go. Okay, now last step for this is your retaining bezel. So this has a little keyway notch that goes at 12 o'clock. And that I have to press in with a tool. Be right back. Okay, let's do ahead and do that. All right, that's all it takes. Okay, so now we have your cleaned with a new gasket, rotating bezel. That should snap on, just like so. Look at that lovely smooth action. Perfect. That is your case. Now, your case was pretty rough. Had a lot just age, stuff. Looks like there was some painting done with this with this watch. It was just a watch that had been used for a long, long time, as you can tell. But now, no polishing, just cleaning. Just cleaning. All right, let's finish out and get you done. Last couple things. I think that came out really nicely. Yeah, that's good. I hope you're happy with that. All right, so last couple pieces here. Let's go ahead and put these back together. This is your ball bearing winding. That kind of assembly that keeps everything wound as the watch winds. All right, a couple more screws here. There we go. Right on. All right. Let's go ahead and get you cleaned up here. Any excess grease or dust has to go, of course. And with that, we can place your lovely winding weight. All right. And the last screw. And with that, we are complete. Alrighty. And with that, we're done. We are done. And there we go. There is your beautiful 1984 6309 Divers wristwatch. Now, this was in pretty rough shape, although only because of use, which is perfect. That's the way I expect things to be. If they're being used, they're gonna have some life in them. This watch, for all that it's been through, is in beautiful shape. The case is very nice. Your bezel insert is still, in my opinion, this slightly ghosted and slightly, used look is, to me, exactly how a watch from this era should look. I really, really love it. I've got a bunch of parts to send back. Of course, the movement. Here are your your old seals. This came out of your your crown. This is your rotating ring gasket. This is your case back gasket. Those will all come back to you so you can have them as mementos. Your movement is going to come back fully just put back together kind of in a bag. You can set it aside with the watch. I was able to basically keep everything. Nothing had to go other than the movement, of course. I think the hands, although they have some finish, imperfections, the fact that they're all the original components to me makes that just so much more special. I love the action of this bezel. It's just so sweet. That's really nice. Good alignment. All right, well, Buzz, I hope your father-in-law and your family really, really enjoy the rest of the life with this watch. I'm going to send you some new spring bars. I have some Seiko replacement style. Oh, by the way, here's your old crystal. That will come back. Your band, which I wouldn't recommend ever wearing this again, only because it's brittle, and if it breaks, you got real problems with dropping the watch potentially. So although it is original, I would keep it as more of a memento rather than utilize it. I have some bands here. Give me one moment. That I can give you to wear if you don't feel like purchasing something new. I don't think these are quite the right size. This is an Uncle Seiko. Let's see what I have. So I have one of this style, which is more of a ribbed, not the flat vents, but ribbed vents. And I'm not really sure that's appropriate. All right, well, Buzz, I found the bracelet I was looking for. This is a used replacement. It is a GL style. I think this is a GL 831 22 millimeter. That's essentially the same exact band that you have, although just a newer variety. This is a fairly inexpensive replacement, but it is real Seiko Japan material. So if you're interested, this can certainly come home with the watch to complete the presentation of the watch at least. So if you wanna do that, you're more than welcome. Please let me know. But we have reached the end. I hope this is what you were looking for in terms of the outcome. To me, keeping it all original was super important as the person who was working on it. I hope that was able to provide you what you were looking for in terms of condition and outcome. It certainly is a great running watch. Your numbers are fantastic, and it's basically a bulletproof 6309 at this point. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope your father-in-law really appreciates all you've done to get him his watch back to him in this state. All right, thanks a lot.